How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, yesterday I had did a hangout, and I appreciate everyone who had came and participated. And we were talking about the Sentinelese tribe and the nature of Esau. And folks don't necessarily have to be Esau, and other races of people can take on the nature of Esau. And I said we could learn a lot for this, because what my point I was trying to get across is that there were some things that were revealed to me 2 years ago, that there's a reason for everything. And I have often talked about my spiritual experience, and it's something that I literally think about every day. 2 years ago, and there's a reason why I say we need to use our spiritual eyes. They call it the third eye. I've heard Dr. Valentine call it your first eye, and that's really what it is. And this has been quite fascinating, and I have seen quite a few people on YouTube had to speak on it. And we felt in the royal family some kind of way. I admire these royals. I really, really do. I admire them greatly. And what is so deep about this, my royal family, is as I'm talking about how we have been violated, fully exploited and violated on the four corners of the earth, literally. And we have some people that feel the need to be a part of every aspect of our life. We are fully under siege in Babylon. We truly is. And it's a comforting thing to know that some of your own live in utter peace, literally, to a point, because the enemy is dangerous. So, John Allen Chau, I did some more deeper research on him, and it was some things that I read and some things that I discovered about him. And first and foremost, my royal family, he's a criminal, and he broke the law. He knew the law, because once he found out about these people as a teen, he was obsessed in making contact with them. Now, the picture that they want to paint is that he's a missionary and he's a good person. And knowing full well about these people that just his presence alone on that island, he was contaminating them. He didn't give a fuck. And I'm sick of hearing how, unquote, good-hearted he is in his intentions. And he even had a diary. And I'm going to read bits and pieces, and I'll leave links so y'all can, because it's a lot. It's a lot. But there's certain things that I read that literally pissed me off. And I'm going to reveal even more about this. Now, just to let y'all know, there are a handful of people that have been arrested in assisting him on going on that island. Again, he is a criminal. Now he's dead. He broke the law. The law is clear. See, the enemy likes to always throw up in our face like we are not capable, or our IQ doesn't elevate to a certain point that we don't know how to comply. Especially when we're dealing with these police that slaughter us in the streets of America daily. Now, even though he is dead and gone, I look at him as, not look at him, he committed a criminal act. And these people put themselves in danger. They killed him and they buried him. But for some reason, you got a group of people take on the attitude when they see people like this. They don't have a clue about anything. Everybody look healthy and well, and they seem to be very loving towards each other. So they have a great deal of knowledge. They have knowledge that we don't even know. And who am I and others to say, do they know about God? Do they know about the Messiah? We don't know what they know. But one thing that I do know, they are way ahead of us. They don't have modern technology, and they're teaching us something, that all this arsenal that the enemy have point at us, because they fear the day that we will rise up on the four corners of the earth. And I have often said the day that the royal family rise up is the day that the entire globe will bow down to the royal family. So let's go on this journey. So, cast the characters. We have here Mary Hope. And I found out when I did my research that John Allen Chau was a part of the KC group trained missionary. I think I'm saying that right. But anyway, let me read a few things here before I kick in these videos. So, this is what this lady says here, because she's the leader of their group. John Allen Chau is dead and killed this month at the age of 26 by an indigenous tribe on a remote island in the Andaman Sea, where, as a missionary, he had hoped to bring the natives to Christ. The leader of the Christian missionary group that helped train Kansas City Base All Nations, that's what they call themselves. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, Mary Host, she says here that she regrets sending Chau on what would be his fatal mission, or that she might have prevented it. Oh, so the plot thickens. She does not think he was ill prepared. He was just emotionally, culturally, physically, and intelligently very, very well prepared, she said. What resonates there? That nature of the beast. That they have a God complex, and they feel like they can push and proselytize whatever they want to on the royal family. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? Some shit that just pisses me off. So, we're going to leave her right there for a moment, because I want y'all to hear what I call the rhetoric.
Missionary John Chau to a remote Indian island is defending his strategy in trying to reach the isolated people group. Authorities believe the people on North Sentinel Island killed Chau after he attempted to make contact with them this month. They're still trying to recover his body. All Nations leader Mary Ho says that Chau joined the organization last year and was well prepared. She said All Nations considered any health risk he posed to be minimal. Chau received 13 immunizations before heading out, and he quarantined himself for days.
No one knows the exact health condition of the people. And in past history, yes, contact with Western population has wiped out local populations. But we are actually in a different time of advanced medicine and antibiotics. And I think a lot of modern medicine may be able to help the local population in some of the health issues. We just don't know.
Senior national correspondent Gary Lane joins us now with more on this. Now, Gary, this story is certainly tragic, but also a reminder of how dangerous it can be for missionaries.
Extremely dangerous, especially if you have a zeal to share Christ with people who are hostile or potentially hostile. And that is what happened to John Chau. Now, he was a young man who just wanted the people of North Sentinel Island to know Christ. And for that, he paid with his life, Ephraim. He wasn't going to give up on that. He felt that, of course, he said that he didn't want to die, but he was willing to die because he felt it was important that God was calling him to do that.
And he knew the risk and dangers going in. Now, something like this happened before in the 1950s with a group of missionaries in South America?
Yes, and unlike John Chau, now Chau went into North Sentinel Island by boat in 1956. Nate Saint and Jim Elliott and 3 others went into eastern Ecuador, and this is from the movie End of the Spear. By the way, that movie came out, as you know, about 13 years ago. Wonderful story, but tragic as well. And they just felt a need. They flew into this area in eastern Ecuador, into the Auca tribe. At that time, they were called the Auca tribe, and brought Jesus to them. But with that, the tribal people turned on them and speared them to death, and they died. Now, we say this is a tragedy, but you know, God uses this to build his church. And guess what? The leader of that tribe, Ephraim, came to Christ after that incident, and so did other members. And of course, you get the tribal leader, then you get other members of the church, of the tribe that come to Christ.
So sacrifice their life to take the gospel. Tell us about another dangerous part of the world, the 1040 window, and efforts to take the gospel there.
Well, the 1040 window is an area, if you look at a map, it begins in Western Africa, across Africa, northern Africa, actually the northern half of Africa, and moves into the Middle East, into places like Iran and Saudi Arabia. And then from there into Afghanistan, India, into Myanmar, China, and of course Japan. So that's the 1040 window, Ephraim. And those are people that are either Muslim, Buddhist, or Hindu, and mostly unreached people. People who've never heard the gospel. You'd be amazed. You go into places like the Hindu Kush Mountains, and there are people there who've never heard of Christ. They've never met a Christian in their life. It's very dangerous if you go into these areas, but also very fruitful, because many people in those areas, once they hear the gospel, will come to Christ. They're very receptive. People are afraid to go in, but once you go in, you find that the people are very warm and will come to Christ.
Can you share a little bit about just the heart of missionaries? I know you travel the world, you get to spend a lot of time with them. Just share a little their heart and why they do what they do.
Well, and I've worked for a mission group, the Voice of the Martyrs, for about 3 years. I can tell you the heart of missionaries is to serve and to share the gospel. They're evangelists first and foremost, but they want to serve as well. It's not just bringing the gospel, but going and living with the people, sharing the love of Christ, materially, providing material goods, and also spiritually, Bibles and so forth. So it isn't just bringing the gospel, but also demonstrating the love of Christ and being with the people that you want to reach and serving them, building relationship.
That's beautiful. Real quick before we go, how should we be praying for missionaries?
Well, missionaries have it very, I mean, not all missionaries. Some live in pretty good countries where they don't have the same risks, but we have risks right here in the United States. I met some evangelists who were beaten up just for sharing the gospel here in the U.S. But pray that God will protect them, of course, but pray that He will give them wisdom when they go into those areas that are difficult and risky.
Now, isn't that something, my royal family, that these people, you got these groups that's taking it upon themselves, and they feel like they are going to preach the gospel and they're going to convert people. That is sheer arrogance. They don't mind breaking the law because in their psyche, they are doing God's work. You're disrespecting God's children, first and foremost. That is our Father, not yours at all. So this criminal prepares, get all kind of shots. And this hoe over here, said he was very prepared and all of that. And now she's regretting some things. The sheer arrogance, taking on the nature of the beast and treating these people like they childlike and docile. When I was doing my research, some of the dumb shit that they would drop off to these people was crazy. They'll drop off a doll, and then there's in that, and there's other islands where you can tell they're related, but they didn't have contact with the other tribes, and they look exactly alike, and they are miserable, and they're being exploited like human zoos, and they're encouraging them to drink and chew tobacco, and they have sense to know that stuff is bad. And see, the thing is these people don't show their emotions on their face, so they're hard to read, and they are very troubled by mixing with unquote civilized people, and they're supposed to be savages. And also what pisses me off is, as I've been doing my research, they call them hostile. No, you hostile, you arrogant. Who the fuck are you? Up on your high horse to think that you can conquer the damn world and push and proselytize your brand of Christianity. I'm pissed today, my royal family. I'm real pissed. Because I'm just letting it soak in. So as we continue on, before I hit this next video, I got a little something to read to y'all. So, this criminal here has a diary. I'm going to give you some insight on how he think of himself. Okay, so let me see here. So they're saying here are the last reported words of the 26-year-old American missionary John Allen Chau, who was a martyr. Really? This week, trying to reach 40 tribal people on a remote island off of India, which, return or not, let it be for the glory of the Lord. Here are the final words he wrote to his family in a letter about a week before he died. You guys might think I'm crazy in all this, but I think it's worth it to declare Jesus to these people. Please do not be angry at them or at God. Wow. If I get killed, rather please live your lives in obedience to whatever He has called you to, and I see you again when you pass through the veil. This is not a pointless thing. The eternal lives of the Sentinese tribe is at hand, and I can't wait to see them around the throne of God, worshiping in their own languages, as Revelations 7:9-10 states. As American Christians continue to question or prolific and even mock his sacrifice for the comforts of their fat, lazy boy recliners, plastic faith, may those who true biblical understanding of the gospel be emboldened and further challenged to go and proclaim it at all costs. As a seeker, sensitive church culture in America is lured further and further asleep. I prophesied that an army of messengers is arising that will not love their lives even until death. They will go forth in boldness, courage, tremendous faith. May the blood of this young martyr, John Allen Chau, be a prolific word to use. All wake up. Man, that is sheer arrogance. So in his distorted thinking, he's saying, I'm going to bring the word to them, and then he would be the king of the island because they would bow down to him because he's teaching them the word and getting them civilized. Well, the divine hand is fully in control of everything. So let's watch this last video.
A colleague called me the day that he passed, and my husband and I were home, and I think we sat there for a couple of hours and just wept, and we were just in shock. He was a young man who, around the time he was 18 years old, he went on a mission trip and knew that he was called to be a missionary. And around the same time, he started researching on different people groups and came across the North Sentinelese people. And he was convinced that his life call was to share the love and the goodness of God with the North Sentinelese. And so even as a young man, before we met him, every decision he made, every step he took was to prepare himself to share the love of God with the North Sentinelese. We know that John Chau really wanted to build a long-term relationship with them. He didn't want to just have, weekend excursions, but he really wanted to get to know them and maybe have the opportunity one day to live with them, for them to know him, and to care for them, to love them. So he was hoping to win them over. The last week in our nations, we've been really grieving and sad and swapping a lot of stories, of course, because we all kind of knew him, and a lot of parents were recalling how their children really loved him. They all just flocked to him because he was so down to earth.
So that is the end of that, my royal family. And she was a part of that bullshit. And what I don't like, what resonates to me is you're making decisions for these people. Who are you to decide, well, I'm going to take it upon myself and, first he puts himself up on a pedestal long ago. Had other folks build him up because he wanted them, unquote, good Christians. And in his delusional thinking, he has already made decisions for these people. They made decisions for your deranged ass. And they teaching the royal family that we should never, ever, ever, once all of this is destroyed, forget. We need to still have a twinge of pain in us and in our memory too about what the beast has done to us and continue to do to us. See, when I was doing my research and I had played it on the Hangout, where back in the late 1800s, 6 of the Sentinelese was kidnapped. came in with a white guy and two black guys that were from another island next door, and persisted to go as far as they can and drug some of them out, took them, put them on a boat. 4 of them died because they had 4 adults and 2 children. The children made it, so then they gonna send them back with some bullshit gifts. And when that happened to them, I know they made a point to never forget what the enemy did to them. So they don't want shit from you. And you sitting up here obsessing, thinking, how can they live in these conditions? You know? Isn't it ironic? When they do make contact with the civilized world, it affects their psyche, it affects their system, their emotions, everything, because they are truly connected to the universe, the very thing that I've been talking about. They in harmony with the universe. They use what's around them to survive. And what blows them away is they're well groomed, they're clean and everything, but you can't read them. They're dangerous, and they need to be dangerous. Because what they are doing is, what I love about the Sentinese tribe is they are fully using their nature. I thought I would never see that. That is some amazing stuff. Because they don't know anything else. But they know who the enemy is, and they deal with you. They deal with you accordingly. See, they don't waffle in their intentions. You know what you're going to get when you fuck with them. And that is how we need to be, my royal family. We leave no doubt that if you get up in my realm, you will feel. If you violate me or others in the royal family, you will feel. And what did that consist of? I will not tell you. I will not tell you. But that was a direct message to the royal family. There is no accidents. So I'm going to leave it there, my royal family. I'm going to leave it right there. I appreciate y'all, I really do. So, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.